Okay, here we go. Alright, good afternoon everyone, welcome to the stream and the channel. I'm Eric as always, and today we're going to have some fun photos to edit and some cool stuff to talk about. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. We'll go through that as we get in. We're mostly looking at the Grand Canyon, which is be cool. And it's fun for me because these are photos that I took years ago, and it's cool. Sound, we still got sound here. There we go. Okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, never really edited these photos much, so it's cool to give them a shot. As always, I do this to kind of pull back the curtain as much as I can on photo editing. A thumbs up if I keep losing sound. I feel like it's my levels are dropping a little bit over there. But anyway, yeah. So I do this to pull back the curtain on post processing and that process. And yeah, so that's why we do it. It's what we do. To that end, if anyone has questions or comments or thoughts and you want to share, please, by all means, the chat is open for that. I will try to respond as much. Additionally, if you were a creator, if you were a photographer, filmmaker, film editor, writer, anything, please feel free to share your work in the chat. And for us, anyone who's watching, to check that out. It's as much as this is my platform, I want it to be yours as well. So yeah, with all that said, let's go ahead and jump in. Hello, Stephanie and Shelby Lynn. Glad you. I'm losing sound. Hang on a second. Yeah. Additionally, hello to Evelyn and Mia. Good. Always good to have you two on. So, with that said, let's go ahead and jump on in. I'm going to keep just going this way until, unless someone tells me I'm having sound issues, because I don't know, we'll see. Anyway, Lightroom. So, here's what I've done. I've gone through and went through all my Grand Canyon photos. There were 111 photos that I took. Some of them are landscapes, some of them are duplicates, some of them are shots of my family. Those would be, yeah, the collection of them. The ones, and kind of rank them. So 1 stars are the ones that I'm going to touch on today. The 2 and 3 star ones. 3 star usually means I'm done with them. 2 stars means I've done a lot. I want to revisit just to kind of give it a little proofread. And 1 star is like, I think there's potential here. I want to edit it. And then we're also going to talk about a cool little mystery I solved. So, okay, yeah, I was wondering about that. Let me, give me 1 sec. I'm gonna see if I can fix this and switch it out. Okay, I know this sounds worse. Let's come back to here. Yeah, we switched to the webcam's mic, so I'm sure this is lower quality, sounds a little worse. But gotta get the webcam mic actually tweaked a little bit. So we'll go with this because it's probably more reliable. So anyway, yeah, so we'll talk about these photos and talk about a mystery that I solved as I went through. So let me know if you guys can still hear this. The levels look pretty good, but I'm sure there's more ambient noise, and I hate that, and I'm sorry. Gotta clean some connectors over there. Anyway, okay, so yeah, so these are photos from the north rim of the Grand Canyon, which is cool. It's an area that doesn't get nearly as much attention as there's the alarm for my tea being done. Doesn't get as much love as the south rim does, because the south rim is the more desert one. The North Rim is an alpine ecosystem. Hang on one sec. Ready for loose tea. So yeah, thank you, Shelby Lynn. Thank you for checking that for me. Okay. Anyway. Perfect. Good. I also got the Nicolas Cage mug, which is very important. So yeah, North Rim of the Grand Canyon, a little more of much more of is an alpine environment. I think it's 1,500 feet taller than the South Rim. So yeah, it's a different, totally different ecosystem, totally different environment. The North Rim actually closes to visitors, I believe. Substantial, like the South Rim. I'm not sure the South Rim ever actually closes to visitors. I think it's open year round. The North Rim does close for the winter, usually because there's snow and it's just inaccessible. So we have a collection of photos from the North Rim that we're going to go through. You get views like this, which are phenomenal. This one, but I've done some editing work on, but I want to do another revise of a few of these. These are all mostly from a day kind of touring the North Rim, and then I've got a couple at the end that I love from Point Sublime, also on the North Rim, but more isolated. It's you need a 4-wheel drive vehicle to get there. You have to. It's only got 2 campsites if you want to stay there. So, and we caught a rainbow at the end of the day out there. So I want to maybe take a look at those. So here we go. Let's get started. Which one of these is speaking to me right now? I like this one. I like this. It's got a whole bunch. I like this one. I like the scope of this thing. So we're gonna start with this. This is taken from Point Imperial. This is Mount Hayden right here, and then as you can see, the canyon stretches across. There's the South Rim over there. And what looks like those little patches of what I thought at first were lakes. Those are shadows of the clouds, which is super cool. Okay, so first things first, let's fix our horizon. Our angle's feels like it's a little bit off. Not much though. There we go. A little better. Get that horizon straight. Okay, cool. Now, this is always the thing I run into when I'm editing Grand Canyon photos, is I want there to be, I want to focus on individual points, but I also want to just capture the vastness of it, and that's, you want to strike that balance. So, let's start by bringing this down a bit. Let's cut some of the sky out. I don't know. The sky being part of that is great. Let's keep the sky. Let's make this about the sky, and we will kind of hint at. We'll still show the vastness. Obviously, we'll crop it like this for now. That keeps Point Hayden or Mount Hayden in the foreground, and we'll do a little bit to bring that out. And in some ways, kind of the same way we did with some of the Glacier Bay photos, even though you can't see the whole mountain range, the vastness of the sky and the water surrounding it kind of gives, by association, communicates the enormity. Which I think is a great way to do that when you capturing the same thing with emotionally rather than necessarily visually, which is a thing I talked about a lot in film editing as well, in terms of maintaining emotional continuity. Okay, dehazing, not really what I want to do right now. Clarity up, I think, is a good idea across the board, especially for Grand Canyon photos. I want to crop that in a little bit on the side, a bit, kind of. That's better. That's automatically drawing my eye a lot better to places I want it to go. I can bring this down just a touch. Yeah, it's starting to work. Starting to give Mount Hayden a little more character as it stands against this backdrop, while still it feels part of the landscape and still separate, which is good. Let's see, highlights. I want to do a lot of this masking. I can bring up the shadows. I don't know how much I really need to. A little bit, maybe. Down the blacks, up the shadows is my one of my default things to do, which I kind of like. Gives a nice lets me brighten up the dark spots a little bit while still maintaining some of those crisper, little more high contrasty areas. Whites, same deal. I'm gonna bring the whites down a little bit. I'm gonna leave them alone because I wanna do the sky separately because I like how most of this looks. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's do a couple masks. Start off with the masking. Start with the sky. The sky's an easy one to start with. Let it find the sky. That shouldn't be too difficult. And nicely here, we don't have, we don't have trees or anything we need to really worry about too much in terms of getting that right. All right, so now I can bring the highlights down in the sky. I can dehaze the sky a little bit, which will give us a little more of that scope to it. Texture. Yeah, this photo's got a lot of texture. The Grand Canyon, it's gonna be a thing. Today we're gonna be doing a lot of texture edits on the photos because that's just so much of the Grand Canyon is the texture of it. And I was, I forgot the last time when I was talking about this, but just the, it's gonna kill me that I was where this came from. Right. Okay, I remember. I was posting a couple of moon photos to my Etsy store, and I talked about the shot, like one of the shots of the moon that I have that I post and that I sell that I really really love is it's a shot. It's half moon. It's like a, I don't know if it's fully, it's pure half or it's a little bit of a gibbous on one side or the other, but it's all about the texture and it's all about the details and like the contrast in the shadows that you can see on the craters and stuff. And the reason for that, the reason I love that photo is because the moon so often is just this, it's a big light in the sky and you think of it as smooth and just this big glowing disc. And so bringing in texture and really cranking up the texture and the contrast makes it feel more like you can touch it and helps you feel closer to it. I think the same is true of something like the Grand Canyon where it's so big that, you know, the more I can help you feel like it's tangible and feel like you can touch it and it's tactile, the more it will be, the more accessible it is of something to connect with. Okay, so we've got the sky. I want to do an object mask. I want to see if I can get this whole section here. I want to see if Lightroom will give me that. And this is going to take a second. Because the object selector AI takes a second. It's pretty good. I say that now. Hopefully it does a decent job here. But I'll have to clean it up a little bit. It's not too hard of an error to clean up if I need to. But let's see what it does. I have no idea how much I'm skipping or how much this audio is coming through. That's not bad. That's really pretty good. Okay, cool. And we can clean that up with a brush. So we're going to start by adding with a brush. We're going to get this area down here because that's important. Let's grab all that. Good. And now we're going to do I'm going to see it in black and white. We're going to zoom in about 50%. So we can take some of this off. Actually, I take it back. I want this on color. Okay. So overlay off. Overlay on. Okay, couple of spots. So subtract brush. It's not too bad, really. And I'm impressed given how, I'm going to turn the feathering down on this. I want these are going to be some pretty sharp lines. Yeah, I'm impressed with the AI selector for objects on Lightroom. Okay. Just follow that line there. So we can just kind of carve it to there. Let's see. This section there gets carved out. And then... Okay. So it's pretty much... I'm going to do some cursory lines to show me where I more or less need to go. Kind of like that. Cool. So now we can get rid of this. Clean this up a little bit. It's a little bit much. Let's try that again. Like that. Clean up the edge of Mount Hayden here. And I'm going to be adjusting not a whole lot beyond just texture, maybe a little bit of color. I don't think I'm adjusting light too much, and which is good because that's, when you talk about masking and where you can really see the edges of a mask, it's usually when you're working with. Okay, there we go. Good. Usually when you're working with light, it becomes more obvious. When you're working with color, it's somewhat obvious. When you're working with texture, you're usually pretty much okay. So that looks good by cranking the texture up. I could crank up the clarity some more. Don't really want to. I'm going to bring up the shadows. And here's what I mean. By cranking up the texture from that to that, like, it makes it more noticeable, but I don't think it. I'm going to do something with the rest of this as well in a second, so it's not going to be. It's kind of more stark than I want it to be right now, and we're going to fix that. But like, it's a starkness that doesn't stand out too much compared to if I do something like this, or if I bring up the blacks, or I bring up the shadows and the highlight. Like, you start to see those edges a lot more aggressively, I think, at least. So put that back. Crank that texture back up because I want that. I'm gonna bring up the shadows a bit. Probably want to adjust the color a little bit. Kind of, if I push it, I don't know. There's the fact that Mount Hayden kind of stands out on its own. I like. I'm debating how much I want to lean into, because the color of the stone is a different color just because the way the light's hitting it. We could crank the saturation, bring the saturation down a bit, try to get it to match with everything else. Kind of like that. I don't know. Gonna leave that as is for now. We'll come back to it. We're gonna do a duplicate and invert. So we get, there we go. Where's the subtract brush? We gotta get rid of that little section there. Go back to here. There's the add brush, overlay. Apparently we missed a spot. Let's get that. Okay, cool. Yeah, back to here. We're gonna subtract the sky, which then gives us kind of the everything else down there, which is great. So now I can pump the texture a bit on that, not to the same degree. I don't know. The more I do that, the more I start losing Mount Hayden. I gotta find a way to differentiate that from everything else. So on the fence. Turn it up, turn it down. Leave it alone. Clarity down. Clarity down might actually be the way to go. Clarity down and texture up. That might be the way to go. That smooths out a lot of those hills. And like, I know I just talked about texture being hugely important, but I kind of like that. Touch of dehazing a little bit just to give it some more color. Bring the shadows up some more. Bring the blacks down. Give it a little more contrast. Highlights up, which is a small but important step. That doesn't look too bad. It really doesn't. I'm actually very happy with that. Let's do a new mask. Let's do a linear gradient real quick. And do a, let's see. Flip that around. So just lightly touch on it. And we'll bring the saturation down. Not that much, just a bit. And have it just gradually sort of fall off there. A little more. Which I think helps. I think it helps drive our attention to the foreground and kind of this. It almost looks like a city. Almost looks like a cityscape. Looking out across the canyon here. I like that. I'm pretty happy with how that's coming along. Turn that off and back on again. You know what? I don't like that as much. Let's get rid of that. I'm debating. Take this section. I really like the colors down there. I really do, but I'd like to have something that separates it a little more from Mount Hayden in the foreground. Just a little bit more detail there. It gives Mount Hayden the prominence I think it should have, or I wanted to have in this photo. It's a little better. While not taking away the power of the landscape, which is always a mix there. As we sort of warm up doing this. Let's see. I'm gonna leave this as is for now. There's one thing I want to do, which is this mask here. Yeah, I'm gonna take this one. I'm gonna take my add brush, turn the feathering way back up, turn the flow down to about 50%. I'm just gonna lightly brush some of the edges into the overlay. There we go. Just gonna lightly brush some of the edges to soften up that those harsher corners there. There we go. Now let's Mount Hayden stand out a little bit more. And let's these all be part of the same thing, kind of let them blend together a little bit easier than they did before. Cool, okay. So we're gonna go ahead and close out the map. We're gonna set this to 2 stars. And we're gonna work on another photo for now. So there's that one. Let's do a quick before and after. Notifications from the BBC. What's going on? Gotcha, okay. So yeah, before and after right now, we've sharpened up a lot of the details. We've made it, kind of bringing out the texture of it. I like to do something with the depth there. That'd be a nice thing to be able to adjust. Is there a mask for depth? There used to be. There was a thing there's a depth range. I haven't got that activated yet, so let's leave that alone. Okay, let's do another one. Let's look through this. Photos we got here, like, that's a different kind of photo. That could be good in black and white. And we got the 2 from Point Sublime. Let's do this one in black and white. I think I'm saving Point Sublime for the end, so let's do this one in black and white. Because this one doesn't have the color. This one doesn't have the color the other one does. It has the cool texture as we look through these rocks. And kind of a larger, you can compare something like this to something like this, where, you've had, that is way too, the dehazing on that is unnecessary. We're gonna work on that a bit later. Clarity, maybe. Clarity for sure. Do something with that. But anyway, in this, the Grand Canyon carved by the Colorado River. So this has all been worn down for, centuries, millennia, eons, going just back and back and back. But something like this is still in the, I'll say, early stages. This is still thousands, probably millions of years in the making, but it's, it is not carved to the same degree, which makes that texture interesting. So, then black and white, we're going to make this all about that. Already, this is becoming a better photo. Texture, absolutely. Selectively, though. Dehaze, not so much, actually, on this. Ooh, bringing it down is pretty cool. That helps a little bit. Highlights down. Shadows. I want a little contrast thing. I want to do with blacks, though. I think I want a little bit of that, and then the shadows can come up. And then whites. Let's see. We can bring this down to there. So we get some clouds, but we don't have. I guess if I bring it all the way down to here, it really becomes just about that carve out and that texture. If I bring it to here, see, there's like 3 or 4 different good versions of this photo. And it just depends on what you want it to be. I think I want to do a couple different versions of it. So let's start with this. Let's make 2 different copies. So we got 3 versions of this photo. And we're going to do them each with different crops and different adjustments. We might copy some, we might not. So this one we're going to come down to here and kind of just get the pathway leading to the wall of the canyon. Good. And then with this one, we're going to crop it even more. We're going to come down to about here. I want to come straight to there. I want a little bit of scope. Let's do one like this. I think the middle one's probably going to be where we end up. Let's do this, and we can really make this about that pathway there. Cool. All right, so let's see what other adjustments I'm going to make. Let's go down to color here real quick. Bring up the reds. Reds are good. I want to get some contrast going in the middle there, because we've got this little lighter section. I don't know if that's water or that is just a lighter rock, but whatever's there, I want to make use of it. Blues, down. Aquas, no effect. Purples, again, turn them down. Magentas as well. Magentas, I'm gonna, let's see. I'm gonna leave them a little bit low. I'm not gonna crank them all the way down this time. Let's see, greens. I think green is just just kind of our plant on the side here. This photo's not about that. We're gonna turn that down. Yellows, same deal, but yellows are affecting everything. So we're gonna turn them up. I'm gonna be darkening the areas on the edge here. That's the thing. That's fine. And then there we go. Ooh, okay, you know, orange is actually having a decent effect. If I turn the yellows down. Nah, the yellows are more interesting in terms of texture. So we're gonna turn them up. Turn the oranges down a little bit. There we go. Something like that as a starting point. Dehazing down. No, let's keep that up. Okay. Keep that where that was. Contrast. Maybe a little more contrast is good. Helps bring out the harshness of that center section. Okay, let's do some masks. These are gonna be brush masks, pretty much exclusively brushing on this one. So we're gonna start off let's turn the flow back up. Start off kind of doing almost doing our own little vignette. But in this case, we're just following mostly what the rocks are already giving us. So a little bit something like that, and we can just darken this down. And the highlights down as well. Do those shadows instead of blacks. Yeah, that's better. Cool. Draws your attention in an interesting way. Let's do something a little bit up here as well. Let's darken up that landscape. I'll do something about this corner here because that bush is too bright for my taste. So bring the density down and kind of lighten up this section a little bit. See the overlay. Yeah. Let that side brighten up a bit so we get that focus in the center, but we don't lose necessarily all the texture here. And we turn the texture down. Dehaze too much, it's a full-on vignette. I don't want to do that. Clarity down, it's not a bad idea though. I don't hate that. Yeah. Let's see. Let's do a new mask with a brush. Zoom in here. I'm going to come kind of right along this little river here. Let's turn the density back up. Move that much more. Get this little section. Brush smaller, come along here. Yeah, just that little bit. Seems pretty good. Now we can turn up the highlights on that. Turn up. Clarity is going to be a bit much. Texture we can definitely turn. Texture I'm going to leave alone. I'm going to do some texture in the middle. We'll turn that up a little bit. Let's do a duplicate and invert here to get the middle section. We're going to turn the texture up. I like a lot of this. There's also part of this that's not connecting with me yet. Go back to here. Over to this one. Let's tweak this a little bit. Right, this one actually seems like a good way to start. Let's start with this. Let's do with texture first on this one. Linear gradient. It sort of sweeps its way back. I'll turn the texture up. So the texture will be stronger here and kind of drift off into the background there. dehaze. I want to do the opposite with dehaze. Clarity, I think. Nah, clarity I kind of want across the board. Leave clarity where it is. Let's see. Exposure will brighten down there. I feel like this needs. I'm gonna let the photo speak to me a little bit. Let's do this. Let's do a brush. We're gonna do. Get this whole area here. We're gonna get everything. We're going to basically follow a little river of rock here. Comes this way, and then comes this way around, kind of pinballing around these larger pieces, and kind of tapers up to there. So that'll be our central focus. We'll turn that up. Turn up the clarity on it, and then we will do a duplicate and invert. We will once again subtract the sky. The sky, we'll do a subtract brush because apparently there's some spots in the middle here that we missed. Let's get rid of those. There we go. And now we can bring some of this stuff down a little bit. Try to find the subtlest ways to do it. The shadows. Contrast, highlights. Coming along, it's not too bad. Draws our eye to the center of this, gives us a nice shape to look at. That's a good start. Let's come back to color. Leave that alone. Oranges. Kind of the same deal. We can use the orange to brighten up a little bit. Greens we can pull down. So they're really a little bit in the sky, mostly that plant on the side. Hey, aquas are having an effect here. I think I want to bring them down. I want to have that, give that sky something to work with. And then reds. A little bit in the middle there. I'm going to leave that mostly alone. Go ahead and correct my horizon here, because this one actually is a very easy little correction to make. Cool. Done. That helps. Good. I like this one. I'm liking this one. I like this one's going better than the other one. I think I just need to warm up a little bit. All right. Texture stays where it is. We've already kind of done that. Though I do want to, on this mask, I already have a brush. Make sure we get that whole center section that we apparently missed. Good. And now we can bring the texture up on that so that we get it kind of going all the way back. Let's go back to this one. Let me do a duplicate and invert to get the other side of this. Let's subtract the sky again, so we're just gonna get the sections back there. Bring the shadows down on them a little bit. And move the blacks up a bit. There we go. Find that balance. Find that little balance there. Okay. All right. This is starting to take shape. This is starting to become a photo that I like. let's see. I feel like the middle is a little bit too hot, so let's pull the highlights down. There we go. That's better. Makes it a little more natural. Not quite that much. A little bit up. There we go. And then let's see. Do I want to up the contrast? No, that darkens us down way too much. I want to bring the blacks down. No, we start losing the shape. Let's do a subtract brush here and a lower density. You see the overlay. Cool. Just subtract. Do a light subtraction of our rock river here. So that we can, there we go, so we don't quite lose, so we keep the shape of it while still being able to darken the rest of it down. Cool. Yeah, it's okay. Okay. Yeah, that one's coming along. That one's got something to it. Let's do one. Let's do a quick mask on the sky because I feel like the sky needs a little bit of work. The clarity. What do I want to do with this? Dehazing it might be the way to go, but I want to do that lightly. Highlights down. Shadows down a bit. Texture up. Much like color fringing am I getting? Not too bad. That's actually pretty usable. Let's turn the dehaze down. Let's get rid of that noise. That looks pretty good. It fits in better with the rest of the photo. It kind of ties the thing together. I'm actually really happy with how that came out. Let's come back down to here. Ooh, bring the blues down. Might be kind of that secret ingredient, what I've been missing on this one. That's, yeah. Draws your eye kind of right through the photo from what I've seen. I like that. Oop, don't need to crop. Don't need to crop, need to come back to here. Bring the blacks down even a little bit more. No, that's too much. Let's see where they were. Yeah. Genuinely, I'm pretty happy with that. I don't know. I'm gonna give that 2 stars and come back to it. Okay, let's do. Let's do a point sublime shot. Let's do this guy. This was one that was. So yeah, I was camping out here at the end of Point Sublime with my dad. And the cool thing about the cool thing about Point Sublime, apart from just the view, is. It is the view, but it's Point Sublime itself is. It's a peninsula of rock kind of out into the canyon. So you've got a view. I forget if you read about it, you can get the exact degree measurement, but it's basically it's canyon there all the way around to there. It's like it's more than 180 degrees. It's a really overall great view of the canyon. One thing you don't get from it is compared to something like this over kind of on the North Rim Drive, where you're up looking down. Point Sublime, you're very much like, you're at the same level as everything else because you're standing on one of these little peaks, and that's really cool. So we're gonna work on this photo. All right, so clarity is gonna be something cool to bring up. Shadows as well. This is obviously sunset, and I want to preserve some of that. Actually, what am I doing? Bringing the whites up. Those are gonna stay back to where they are. Start by cropping this a little bit more because I don't really need this bottom of it. I want to bring this up to here. A little bit. I have a little bit of the bottom, so that our lit peak has some breathing room. Usual thing is to do clarity. Yeah, a little bit of clarity is not gonna be a bad thing here. Texture. I don't know, best friend or worst enemy. Hard to say on this one. You can also crop this in a bit bit like this. I like. I liked the width of this photo. I like having the whole expanse of it, but at the same time, all the interesting stuff is over here. You got the blue in the sky. You've got the remnant of the rainbow, like something like that. find that middle ground and we'll stick with that for now. Doesn't look too bad. Noise-wise, what was I shooting at? I was shooting at 200, 60th of a second, f4. Okay, cool. So we're gonna have a little bit of fun with focus. All right, highlights coming up is a great idea. Actually, exposure coming up entirely is not a bad idea. Just a bit, and then we can bring our whites down in various ways. Let's take that to 5. Just go up that much and do the rest with adjustments. Let's see. Dehazing is gonna bring out a lot of those colors. I gotta say, I'm not really a fan of how the gold cast this has. If I push this a little bit more toward blue, we're gonna get a lot more detail, and that's awesome. We're gonna do that. I want to go toward pink. Don't really think I want to go toward green. Not really. I don't know. I like sort of the purple cast that already exists. I don't think I need to do much more with it until I get to color sliders. All right. I want to separate the sky, so let's do a sky mask. Awesome. It bleeds a little bit over. We'll see if that becomes a problem. We can adjust if need be. A little bit of dehazing, a little more toward blue. Let's see. That is looking pretty awesome, actually. Could bring up the clarity. It's gonna bring up the noise. I don't really need it. A little bit, maybe. Texture. Texture's gonna be where it's at, really getting into the details of what's up in that sky. I love it. Let's bring the blacks down a bit, because I do love doing that. Awesome. Okay, cool. Cool. That looks pretty great. I can bring up the saturation a bit, or a lot. Honestly, bringing up a lot is really awesome. So let's do that. This is starting to look really good. And then let's fix that noise. We're driving a very loud golf cart around outside, so sorry about that. Bring that noise reduction down a bit. I don't want to lose the... I'm going to leave the noise reduction right where it is. Like, I don't mind too much of that noise in the sky. I'd rather have the... I'm going to bring it up a little bit, but I really want to keep the sharpness in the middle there. You know what? I'm going to do this separate mask. Let's do this. New mask. Sky. Should be the same thing. And then I'm going to subtract the brush. I'm going to subtract with the density all the way, most of the way up. I'm going to subtract this middle section. Get that stuff sort of like that. And then I will noise reduce. And so that way, I don't need to noise reduce that much. And now I'll drop the density down to about 14. I can brush the rest of this, which will give me, let me keep the detail kind of in the middle where I want it, while also kind of giving me a little more of a noise reduction on the edges, which would be nice. Cool. All right, density up to 100%, and let's get this middle and kind of keep it where it was. Cool. Yeah, I like that. Also kind of helps draw your eye to that spot because it's as sharp as it is. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I like that. Okay, good. Let's see. I'm gonna try something. I don't know if this is gonna work. This was always kind of a stigma. What is it? Just a new brush. Get rid of that. Cancel. I want object, not brush. I want to see if this thing can grab that rainbow. I remember the last time I edited a photo from Point Sublime of the rainbow, Lightroom was having complete conniptions trying to get the rainbow. I ended up having to do it by hand with a brush. And if I don't have to do that, I like to not. I don't necessarily need to on this photo because the rainbow is an element of the photo, but not the subject. So I'm not too worried if I can't get it, but I want to see if the object detector can, because last time I was doing this, I didn't have that as a feature. Let's see what it gives me. Okay, I don't love it. All right, we'll get rid of that. I'll worry about that later. If I need to hand brush that, I will. Okay, let's come down to, let's do a new mask, sky, as we've been doing before, and then we're going to hit invert. So now we have the ground, which means I can then adjust all the details there that are out of place. The only worry here is that harsh line between the two. Making sure that I keep that, which dehazing is probably the answer to. Actually, dehazing was probably adding haze might be actually be the answer. That seems to help actually surprisingly well. Let's bring those shadows up a bit. Bring the blacks down. I have to do the whites, the separate selection, just because it is giving me that line that I don't really want. Push this a little toward blue. A little bit. Gives me a nice blue haze in the background, which I really like. Even a little bit toward purple. Nah, it's changing the character of the photo. Let's just push it toward blue a little bit. Something like that. That looks really cool. This photo has an epic quality to it that I was not expecting to find, and I'm really, really loving. I feel like I'm hitting a stride here, which is good. Okay. Highlights. Highlights stay where you are. Shadows across the board. Bring them up a little bit. Don't do too much with them. I don't know. I kind of like a little bit, very little bit. Blacks down, same deal, a little bit. We've already brought the texture up. That's good. Clarity. You know what? Bringing the clarity down on this photo kind of gives it that nice painted look that I've been kind of enjoying lately. I may do second version. I'll leave the clarity where it is for now, and then dehazing is a global adjustment. No. Too aggressive of an adjustment. Too much of a thing. Let's leave that off. Because there's as much as there is some really harsh, beautiful contrast in this, there's some softness, and I'm actually really enjoying that. Alright, let's play with our color sliders a little bit. I don't know if there's much to do here, but then again, I've said that before. Blues, no, that takes away the texture of the sky. I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. Hang on a sec, guys. Wait for it. Yeah, we'll keep working until I do. Alright, blue, aquas. Once again, aqua getting totally shanked. There is no aqua here, and that depresses me. Oranges. A little bit of orange up is not a bad idea. Yellows. Yellows, okay, yellows are smoothing out some of those lighter parts, and I'm actually pretty happy about that. But let's then bring up the oranges and let them kind of play into there. So we've got some nice blues, some purples, some oranges. I like that. Speaking of purples, nah, bring up the purples is going to give me a little bit of purple is not bad. Magentas, hey, magenta's all over this, but too much of it, we're going to get lines. Let's leave that mostly alone. Just a little tiny touch of it, maybe? Yeah, a little touch of magenta I think is good. Reds, where are reds at? Reds are, again, very prominent, but too much of them are going to start getting lines, so a little bit. Just a bit. Just very selective. Yeah, that's looking good. Let's come down here to our luminance slider, so there's anything to do here. Orange is up a bit is not a bad idea. Orange is up brightens up those patches, brightens up these wisps of fog and remnants of rain. I like that. Let's see. Blues up a bit isn't bad. Kind of gives that sky a little more of an epic, quality to it. Let's keep that. Let's see. Greens don't exist. Green is a fake color that was made up by communists. I say this, I'm a leftist, so so thank you, communists, for making up green. Green's a wonderful color. Green is the color that human eyes can see the most shades of, which, in case you're ever wondering why night vision and anything with that kind of look is green, that's the why. You can see the most shades of green, so you can see the most nuance with green. So yeah, thank you, communists, for fake making up green. Let's see. Keep playing with that yellow slider, not doing anything with it. Red's up a little bit. I don't know. Losing. Yeah. Alright, width. Yeah, let's bring that up a little bit. That's not bad. Purples. We can really crank up the purples if we wanted to. Not entirely sure I want to. A little bit of something, but if I bring them up at all, the blue stops standing out as much as I want it to. And then magentas, same kind of deal as the reds. Bring them up a little bit just to kind of smooth it out, but yeah. Okay, one last thing to sort of do. I'm really happy with this. As from where this started to where it is now, I'm really, really happy with this photo. Okay, so a couple last things. One, I want to see what vibrance does. If I turn that up a bit, there we go. That was good. Yeah, if I crank vibrance all the way up, it gets garish, and saturation is going to be similarly hellish. I don't hate it, but a little bit of vibrance is good, I think. Not too much. Even a little bit of saturation, maybe, because the next thing I want to do is try to. I don't know. That's making this as I look at the thumbnail, it's making this photo too orange, and that's not what I'm about. Let's see. Maybe a touch of saturation, just a touch of saturation. Then we'll come back down to our orange slider and crank that down a bit. I want this photo to have the orange, but I don't want it to be about the orange, you know? If that makes sense. Is yellow doing next to anything? It really isn't. Let's leave it alone. Let's bring the yellows down, actually. That'll give us a little more contrast in there in terms of color. Okay. One last thing I wanted to do, which saturation helped with a lot, but let's create a new mask with a brush. Density on this can be 75. That's good. We're going to come across here. I basically want to get this kind of section of orange that's sort of living about there. There we go. Just that section there. Could push it to blue. Could push it to purple. Pushing it toward purple actually isn't a bad idea. It gives us a little more detail. Makes these spots of white pop a little more. I like that. Makes the rainbow blend in a little better with the sky around it, which I like a lot. That's layering on something I don't want it to. Get rid of that addition. Yeah, it's got that gives it a good extra little feel to it. Nope. Yeah, it actually helps. I like that. Let's see. Like I want to make sure my eyes catch these little pops of fading storm in here, and I want to make sure that rainbow feels like it's part of the photo. Feels like it fits in with the sky. That looks good. I'm really, really happy with that. 3 stars. Let's look at before and after real quick. Yeah, there you go. Before and after of this photo. Mwah, phenomenal. Again, this is why we shoot RAW, so that we can do this. Alright, one more thing. How crazy noisy is this? It's not that bad. These spots here are pretty noisy. Let's, if I denoise that new mask, what happens? Lose some of the detail, not much. Let's do that. Let's also come down to luminance. Nope, that's profile correction. Where's the denoising thing? Put it away? Detail? There it is, okay. Yeah, noise reduction. Turn that up a little bit, just kind of across the whole photo, and that'll help. Just not that much. Good. Okay. Yeah. Cool. I think I'm really actually stoked about that one. That one looks phenomenal. Okay. Let's take a short break while I get my get my desk down. And I'm gonna sit down, and then we'll continue with this. And I'll do that. So you guys can still hear me, and you'll probably hear the desk coming down. And in the meantime, I will discuss my thoughts on the cinematic masterpiece, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, which I got to see in theaters last night with Stephanie. So, Stephanie, also, please share your thoughts on this movie. Headphones are falling off of stuff. But yes, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, absolute cinematic train wreck. It's a disaster that really should have been a lot better than it was. And we're back. And I'm probably going to keep talking about this movie because it's a movie that I want to talk about. Let's see. Quick check on phone stuff. Yeah, I gotcha. Okay. Okay, so let's look at some more Grand Canyon photos. But yeah, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Depressing waste of the premise. Unfortunately, which is not a thing I'm happy to say. Really should have been a better movie. Really should have been. It genuinely felt like I'm just going to adjust some small things on here while we go through this. Felt like they took a generic horror movie that they'd already written and just dropped Winnie the Pooh into it in a bad way. Like, credit where credit's due. The guy playing Pooh was committing to this, and that was really enjoyable. And this photo's all texture, black and white. Nah, this photo needs the color, but doesn't need much. But I think I brought the color. Yeah, I brought all the color sliders down except for the blues, and that I completely support that decision. I think that's the exact right thing to do. No to green. Nah, I kind of like it being this big white sail out there. Let's do a quick before and after peek. So yeah, before you got the color in there, you don't have the starkness, whereas now you have this gorgeous kind of white landscape. Stephanie, that is a fair assessment. It does in fact exist. Yeah, there's not. Let me try an object brush on this real quick, because right now there's nothing but global adjustments, and I would like to. Yep, you're on the right page. But yeah, no. So it seems like they took a fairly generic horror movie, with think standard, bad slasher movie. Okay, like collection of attractive young women who are all very pretty and not necessarily hired for their acting chops, or not directed or a director didn't really care about the acting chops, and they are gathered at this place to so that we can kill them in a collection of brutal ways until maybe one of them survives. And that's the think generic movie, and then just make deranged versions of Winnie the Pooh and Piglet are your villains, and that's about it. Christopher Robin's in it. He's honestly your best actor in the movie. Oh, that worked really well. Shit. Okay, cool. But yeah, honestly, Christopher Robin's your best actor in the movie. Not necessarily counting the guy who played Pooh, because he was committing to this. But let's see. Let's bring the texture down and everything else a little bit. Bring the clarity down just a bit, just to kind of give us that softer focus, and we really draw our attention to this guy. Yeah, because but for the most part, your main characters, Christopher Robin is not your main character. Pooh and Piglet sort of are, just because you, meta understanding of it. Pooh and Piglet are the main characters, because they're the ones we're there to watch, and they're the title characters. But at the same time, the characters who are ostensibly your mains are a collection of. They're not connected to the Poohniverse. They're not they're not really well defined. Apart from the blonde one, who is there to be kind of the more typical stupid horror movie trope of the more sexualized a character is, the earlier they're gonna die. She's the one who's gonna die first. She's in 3 scenes. 2 of them she's in bikinis or lingerie. It's just the. So apart from her being blonde, because obviously blonde equals harlot equals et cetera, you know how this goes. This following that stupid trope. By the way, if you're curious, the little corner down here, this is actually a pathway. You can actually climb out onto this if you are so inclined, according to national park rules of we're not going to fence it. If you die, it's on you. but the rest of the female the rest of the female cast in this movie are all fairly, like, they're all dark-haired white girls who all speak at the same register and all freak out in the exact same way, so it became very hard to tell which one is speaking when they're all freaking out. And then you've got nonsense stuff where, one of them who ostensibly turned. The other thing, of the four of them, two of them are in white shirts and red sweaters and the like cardigans, and the other two are in blue shirts, so it automatically makes it hard to tell them apart. And then the one of them who sort of is not our main character, but sort of becomes the leader in the when the poo attack starts happening. Man, this is all sounding nonsense out of context and isn't much better in context, but still, when the bear and pig start attacking, and this other girl in red sweater number 2. They have names in the credits. I could not tell you for the life of me which one is which. When one of them so one of them who sort of takes the leadership role, kind of with the point of like, oh, good, she's gonna be the smart one who's gonna guide us out, and then of course she's the first one to die, because oh no, stakes upped. But anyway, when she kind of, they're all kind of weirdly gathered in like the foyer of this Airbnb they're staying at, which has a bunch of windows, and so like that's the wrong spot to hide when you don't want the murderers to see you. But one line goes from, we all need to stick together and they can't get us, and then I think her next line is something like, okay, you and I are going to go to the kitchen to get weapons, you two stay here. It's like, okay, well, there we almost had almost broke the stupid horror movie trope of splitting up, but we didn't, so there we go. I don't even remember how we got started on that topic, but just, they're like, this really is, student film, generic, bad horror slash movie plot, hitting all the same tropes, all the same dumb decisions that we are all totally sick of, and then, just attach Pooh and Piglet as your slasher characters, and add Christopher Robin in as the male hero who's sort of around and gets to be shirtless and will save the day. Sort of. This day doesn't really get saved because we're setting up a sequel, which they've announced and put out a poster for, and man, it looks bad. That's very much this movie, which is really depressing because I will defend that I think this photo's done. I will defend that I think there is a good version. Let's try the low clarity version of this just because I'm curious. Man, this photo's good. I really love this one. Let's do a duplicate and just play with some lower clarity. I'll defend the idea of turning Winnie the Pooh into a horror movie is not a bad. Okay, it's not a bad idea. It's in concept it's dumb, but once you've committed to doing it, there are good ways to do it. There are ways that you can make that work well. And this movie, for the most part, kind of sets them up. Basically, sets up the premise of Christopher Robin went into the woods when he was a kid, found this collection of, half human, half animal hybrids, became friends with them, brought them food, they had adventures, he sort of domesticated them, and then, yes, Stephanie, good point, meant to mention that. There's a scene where Pooh flogs Christopher Robin with Eeyore's tail. It's magnificent. It's great. Anyway, so Christopher Robin becomes friends with these creatures, sort of domesticates them, they become friends, and then he goes off to college, and it kind of ages out and stops visiting them. They all now lacking food and needing, them now lacking the source of food, start starving. What happens when you abandon a semi-domesticated animal, and thus, swear revenge on Christopher Robin, humanity in general. Okay, that's all in this movie. That's the hook of this movie, and that is fine. And then we start off with Christopher Robin as a character coming back to visit the 100 Acre Wood to kind of show it to his girlfriend and or fiance. Couldn't tell. Stephanie, I'll argue that point. I don't think seeing this made us worse people. I think it made. I certainly it was interesting. I will certainly sit down and watch this movie with anybody who wants to watch it because it is fun to talk about. It is an experience more than it is a film, and I'm fine with that. But anyway, okay. So high clarity version that's sharp and gorgeous. Low clarity version that's a little more painterly. I like both. I really do. I think this one could be better as a. This one I am going to crop in a little bit. Yeah, and like a horror movie where they turn against the humans. Yeah, horror movie. That's basically the pitch. The pitch to this is they've turned against humanity because Christopher Robin abandoned them, and now, wants to. Yeah, and they now want to come after humans. That makes sense. Like, and if you okay, that's your basic premise. And the story, to me, the story that should be told with that is like Christopher Robin comes back, finds out they've all gone kill crazy. They hope maybe keep him hostage, whatever. He gets away, and they chase him down, and now he's your main character, and they are killing everyone he knows. Do the whole revenge thing. They're coming after him. They're coming out. And he's now gotta like encounter people who are like friends, family, whatever, and be like, right, those imaginary friends that I had are real and are here and have sledgehammers. Like, there's a good emotional arc in that. There's some good, like, it's a revenge story. Maybe it's a redemption arc for him or for Pooh. Like, it's, you could connect. You could have a nice, an ending that's maybe solved by empathy rather than solved by violence, or at least you do a fake out like that, and then you go to you give it a horror ending. Like, there's a good, once you commit to this premise and even the hook of this specific movie, there's a good version of this, of like, there's an entertaining thing you could do with this. You have some fun with it. You be kind of kind of self-referential. You make some references. You make some jokes. Like, could be fun. Could be totally good. This movie's not that. This is a good photo. I'm gonna edit this one. This movie is generic, boring horror movie slapped with Piglet and Pooh slapped on top. And it's not good. Like, and it's one of those things like, Yahtzee Croshaw says the worst thing a piece of art can do is be boring. Yeah, that's the problem with this movie, is in the end, it's boring. In the end, it is like Piglet and Pooh are not enough to let's go to -2. No, wrong direction. Let's go to regular 2. Piglet and Pooh are not interesting enough, and the movie is not handling them well enough to make them, for them to be, compelling, for them to be worth the price of admission. And that's no one else is really giving you much. Hope the guy who plays Christopher Robin is getting to do stuff. Like, they teased a sequel, and like, spoiler alert, he survives. So theoretically, he's gonna end up in the next one. And he's, apart from he's probably the best actor in the movie. He's got kind of a, proto Taron Egerton energy to him, which is great. Like, that Taron Egerton would be. I could see if we were doing big budget dream casting of. Can I do a select object and get this whole thing? It was like subject. That might work. We're gonna see. Like, if we were gonna do proto dream casting of like, all right, we're gonna do a big budget Winnie the Pooh movie. Like, Taron Egerton would be someone you'd pull up for Christopher Robin. That's not a bad thing to have. That's not what I want, but let's start with that. Taron Egerton would be a good choice for Christopher Robin. This guy having that sort of same vibe is great. I'm all about it. Cinematography was pretty good across the board. Like, they had some kind of a budget on this, and they spent it on lighting and creature effects and the gore, and which is, for the most part, where you want to put the money on screen for a horror movie like this. Though, really, guys, they should put more into the script. The script is the Achilles heel. This movie doesn't work. I'm damning it with faint praise. But yeah, that's kind of just a wonderful chance to just do a 15-minute rant on Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, because it is the year 2023, and this is the distraction we have chosen to escape from the day-to-day shit we're dealing with. And the fact that we're just kind of spinning a roulette wheel for how the planet's going to end. some of the object select. See if I can get these trees and stuff in here. Cool. But yeah, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. It's gonna show up on a streaming service eventually. It's like, do not watch. I'd say don't watch it alone. You're not gonna get a satisfying cinematic experience out of it. Watch it with somebody who you can, take the piss out of it with. Optionally, while drunk and or high. I can recommend it that way. I will also say the thing that sort of depresses me the most about this, and I will happily say this. Let's do a duplicate and invert. Cool, that's what I wanted. Is that they make a big point of that the animals have used to speak when they were friends with Christopher Robin. They don't speak anymore because of what happened. Because he abandoned them. So, when you set that up at the beginning, there's gonna be you set up that they don't talk anymore, so there's gonna be a moment when they do. There's gonna be near the climax, we're gonna have that. And I am sad that Pooh's one line was not "oh bother." That made me sad. Let's crop that in, kind of get this little border down here of the rock coming through the trees as our edge, I think. Those clouds, they keep going. I don't know. Again, the vastness of this is something worth preserving, but part of me thinks that I think I want to keep this crop in like that. Actually, bring it down a little bit and get a little more of the base, and that's good. A little bit. There we go. Get the vastness that way. I like that. Let's come back to our angle adjustment. I really want this to be a little more like that. There we go. We can now bring this up and bring this down. Bring this over a little bit. Nope, we can't bring it over anymore. Let me bring this down a bit more so that I can bring this over a couple of notches, just like that. There we go. Cool. Oh, that's much better. I like that a lot. I'm going to start doing some adjustments on this thing specifically. But, yeah, no, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Definitely, watch it with people when it shows up on stream. I will say, the poster they released for the second one is teasing Tigger showing up. One other premise that I thought was kind of interesting that I wish they'd done something more with is the fact that, at the beginning it sets it up that the animals not being fed by Christopher Robin were starving, and didn't know what to do, and so they apparently ate Eeyore, which I think comes more out of the filmmakers being okay, if we're gonna render these characters of the kind of the main five, not counting Tigger, who's not even mentioned in this, which one's going to be the hardest one to do a prosthetic for? And if it's it's going to be Eeyore. Okay, we're going to so Eeyore will be the one we kill off, so he'll never show up. That way they can still leave the door open for Owl and a Rabbit to show up at some point in the future. But yeah, they killed and ate Eeyore in this opening animatic. That was honestly the best part of the movie. Whoever was hired to do that did a very good job. Let's see. Find the right balance of starkness here. I know today we're talking about a different take on the artistic process. It's not photography today. We're talking bad films, but that's where my head's at. All right. Do this with color sliders now I think about it. Yeah, that's got a nice edge to it, a nice little bit of into it. Got some mountains in the background there. That's pretty cool. One down here. Put some color. Yeah, cracking up greens. Thank you, communists. Yellows, oranges. Yeah, orange is what I want to do. Let's bring the orange. I'm going to push the yellows toward orange a bit, actually. I'm going to brighten them up. I bring the yellows up? There we go. That gives us some more interesting detail and stuff. I'm happy with that. Happier with that. Still needs some work. I think this is too contrasty. But we've already got a separate mask for that, so we can work on that. Reds, yeah, let's bring up the reds. Purples. I want to bring up the color in that far wall and the area. Kind of across from us, give it that nice detail. Aquas, hey, aquas are a little at play, a little bit. Man, aquas are turning into my Arizona Cardinals. I want them to succeed. It's actually better. Bring the blues down. Give some more contrast there. Aquas, I'm gonna leave the aquas kind of up a little bit. Bring the blues, not quite that low. Purples. Let's turn that down a little bit. It gives us a little more texture in the far off edges there. Same with this, bringing the magentas down a bit. Reds. Yeah, leave the reds where they are. Reds are kind of good. And then the oranges. Yeah, orange is a little bit up. I think that's good. All right, let's come back and do a little bit of work on our mountain here. Which I want to soften that a bit. Something like that, maybe a little bit lower contrast on it. There we go. I don't usually like to lower the contrast, but in this case, that's exactly what this needed. A little bit of contrast down. Bring up the highlights a bit. Bring up the shadows will be the other thing to do. General rule is if you want to, with the highlights and shadows and the whites and blacks, if you want high contrast, you do that. You go highlights up and shadows down. If you want kind of a lower contrast, you can do shadows up and highlights down. That's kind of a mid-range contrast. And if you want them both, if you want kind of none, you kind of get them close to each other for the most part, depending on your piece. What's something if I do like that? No, I want the highlights up. The highlights up and the shadows up together kind of combines into a single nice lit piece of rock, which I like. Whites up a touch just to give us a little bit of extra brightness there. That's looking pretty good. I'm actually getting happier and happier with this as we go. Let's do a section here. Let's crank up the saturation. And again, saturate. A little bit of dehazing is good. Gives us that nice separation from the foreground to the background. I like that. I think we got a little too much sky. So let's bring that down. Split the difference there, something like that. Come on, there's a correct answer right there. There it is. Okay. Not bad. Eyes follow, like looking at the photo here. What was that? I just get a, something weird happened with the navigator. Oh, is it this? I moused over something and that changed. Is it? It actually is this. Okay, cool. You can mouse through. Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't know you could just kind of mouse over that and see what it looked like. That is a nice touch. Okay, cool. You know what? I want that sky to be darker. Let's come down to the blues. Bring them down some more. So that happens when you take off when you up the dehazing. Yeah, that's better. Cool. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. It's got a little bit of a halo edge around stuff. I'm not too worried there. These little bright spots here and here give us some nice detail to this thing. Yeah, I'm really, for the most part, really happy with that. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give that 3. Sweet. I'm gonna submit these to a magazine publication if I want to do a whole Grand Canyon series, because I'm really loving how these are coming out. Out of curiosity, a black and white version of this? You know what? Maybe. Let's do that real quick. Let's do a black and white version. Man, I've got a separate little controller over here. I gotta get this, dialed into Lightroom and just do a button for a virtual copy, because I do that all the time. Okay, let's start adjusting for a black and white version. What do we want? I want the background darker, or either darker or, yeah, I want higher contrast in the background. I want that. Let's bring the contrast up. Let's bring the blacks down. Let's bring the shadows down. Bring the exposure down in general, not that much. Gotta find that line. It's about -0.15, something like that as a start. I want to keep the texture. Keeping the clarity low seems like the right thing to do. I will agree with that. Give me that back. Let's go into our color sliders and start working with them. So we bring the blues down. That'll help. We bring the aquas down as well. Some good shadows over there. Greens down a bit, but not too much. Oranges and yellows up. The big problem with this one is because so much of the canyon is distinct from the background based on color, that this is not, that having it in black and white, we have to find another solution for getting this to be, getting those colors to stand out the way we want them to. Yeah, you're sort of the problem. Okay, cool. Can't think too much from that. Okay, that's fine. So I might need to just reduce the texture and let it kind of stand like that. That's better, actually. I don't love it, but it is better. If I dehaze some more, that's even better, actually. That's the way to go, is to brighten that up. Okay, cool. Found our answer. Let's keep working. All right, so let's work on this guy. Let's bring our highlights. Our whites down a little bit. Let's give us some more darkness. I'm looking at this area here. I'm going to brighten up the mountain itself. If I bring this down, yeah, that's questions. Let's leave that. Let's bring it down a little bit. Dehazing it is darkening the dark parts, but not the bright parts, which is not what I want. And a little bit of softness in this isn't bad. Bring the shadows up on this is pretty good. We already brought the blues down. Yes, we did. Let's bring them down even more. And the aquas as well. So we still get some detailing in that sky, even though we're brightening and softening everything. Let's bring the highlights down a bit. I don't know if we need to. Is that a spot on the lens? No, that's a spot. That's a shadow. That's fine. Okay, cool. We're going to talk about lens spots at the end of today. That's a thing. Talked about solving a mystery. I think somebody got rid of it because it does look like a lens spot. Talked about solving mysteries, and I did solve one today, which is, I didn't even realize it was a mystery, but I solved it and we're going to talk about it. But for starters, we're going to get rid of this. Do a heal on that. Do a content aware fill. Data clone it. Not gonna help. Oh, that's because the opacity's down. Why is the opacity down? There we go. Oops. There we go. Solves that problem, which is good. Cool. All right. Let's come back to our one other mask for just the mountain itself. update the object selection. Ooh, yeah. Which is fine. Okay, cool. Still got it. We still want the contrast down. We want the whites all the way up. Or the highlights up. We're going to bring the whites up a little bit more. Bring the clarity down without losing. I'm going to up the exposure on this a little bit. Something like that. Find that balance. Yeah, starting to like that. Color sliders a little bit more. Bring the oranges down a bit, give us a little more sharp contrast there. Cool. Alright guys, I'm pretty happy with how that's looking right now. It's already got 3 stars. Let's jump back to this one, to the color version. I like the colored version better for sure. Like, definitely really like this. It captures everything. But a black and white version looks good. Let's do a quick little before and after. There you go. Really gives you the nice... That's... Yeah, pulls out some of the beauty of the canyon there. I'm really happy with that. Okay, back to here. Let me do a quick update on this. That was a subject select. Interesting. Okay, yeah, we'll leave it alone. It's not the exact. Is that the problem? Nah, it's kind of a mix. Okay, never mind. We'll leave it as is. Cool. Okay, let's do another one. I've already done one very similar to that, but that's a good one to do. I might come back, might do that one. That one's not speaking to me as much. We've already done this one. I still feel like it needs something. I just don't know what yet. Actually, I do know what. I think it's figured out. I know exactly what. New mask with an object. I just want Mount Hayden here. Exactly what this one needs, and it's brightness. Wait for it. Also, I don't know what the weather's like near you guys, but it is a gorgeous day here. We're mid-70s. Happy February. Beautiful. That's actually a pretty perfect grab. Let's do a little bit of subtracting with a brush. The density all the way up. And feathering down a bit, because again, we're sculpting here. Subtract a little bit to the base. We don't need them. We'll kind of carve around the edge here. Just kind of individual brush strokes. Just click it and let it erase. Good. Okay, I can live with that. Actually, let's get rid of this little. Actually, no, that's part of it. Okay, cool. Oop, no, I still want that mask. Let's go back to here. And let's bring the highlights up. Let's look at this from a macro perspective. There we go. Shadows up a little bit. Actually, clarity might just be the only thing I need to do. Cranking up the clarity is going to desaturate a bit. It's going to brighten this whole thing up. Could crank the saturate now because the thing is, this photo doesn't have it's got all these beautiful colors down here. It's got these, the yellows, the blues, the purples, these oranges down here. The thing it doesn't have is white. And that's what it needs. It needs a little bit of white, kind of a little bit of a Minas Tirith thing to it. That's too much. Texture up is always good. Yeah, that's what this photo was missing. That's what this photo needed. A little bit of that. Yeah, a little bit, highlights up a little bit. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. There we go. Now it's locking into focus. Is that bleeding on over a little bit? I think it is. It's not actually. Interesting. Okay. Just a little bit extra. Okay, cool. So there we go. Boom. That is a better photo. That photo draws your eye right to there, and from there, it's kind of your point to explore the whole thing. I'm looking at this here. I'm seeing the sky. Then I'm noticing, oh, bright stuff up here in the sky. Then I'm noticing, bright thing down here. So your eye travels there, and that kind of leads you brightness to the pedestal, and then from there, my eye goes from noticing light to noticing color. When I start noticing color, I notice everything else. Good. 3 stars. That photo's done. Let's do this one. This one's just gorgeous. This is very similar to the to this one that we did before. I think it's the same spot, a little bit further down the trail. But yeah, let's do this. This has a beautiful expanse to it. So. Alright, I think I've already fixed my angle here. I don't think I agree with that. I tell you to autocorrect. What are you going to do? You're going to go to that? I think that's even more wrong. Let's try this again. Let's reset the crop. And we're just going to... Too much. Something like that. 128. That's better. I can live with that. I think that's the cool thing about this, and the gorgeous thing about shooting in any place where you get these huge expanses, is that you in some ways can kind of see like the landscape out here curves a bit, but also just the curve of the lens and the curve of the earth working together. You get some really interesting things. If I turn profile correction on, yeah, you get a little bit of that chromatic aberration. So I thought I synced that across all these. I thought I got all of them. Oh, I missed that one. Okay. Okay, I know what I did wrong. Okay, anyway, yeah, so we're gonna work on this photo. This photo looks great. Gonna take this to 1.35. Okay. Let's see, and that's already kind of pushed to the edges, which is good. Alright, let's do a little bit of cropping here. I want to crop out the bottom and get rid of that little peak. I want to pull this in a bit so we kind of lose. There, I want to bring this into that. That is something else. That's starting to look really good. I'm gonna edit that out anyway, but I like the edge here. I really do. So I kind of want to keep this, and I will adjust that out if I need to, because I like the width. I really do. All right, let's see. What are we gonna do with this? Highlights. Highlights are good, but separate. Sky and so on. Shadows, same thing, good but separate. Actually, shadows up is good across the board. Shadows up is good. It brightens up this whole area down here, so I can do a little more specific stuff with it, and then it also brightens up the shadows on the bottom of the clouds and the shadows on the ground. I love this moment right at the spot right here where you can see the cloud resting on that level of the atmosphere. That is really, really cool. One of the things, one of the things you don't often get to see with clouds, because they're usually sort of drifting up and down. But if you got a cloud that's like this, there's gonna be a rainstorm here. Most of it's gonna be rain at any point in the Grand Canyon. There's tons of it. But looking at this, like you see that shadow and that very flat bottom. That's because that cloud is sitting on the atmosphere, which is awesome. And it's a a cool demonstration of density. Science is wonderful.
I concur.
Yes, Maria Lisa agrees. There she is.
Oh, I was like looking at the wrong side of the screen.
Nope. Yeah, you're not. Yeah.
It's cool, babe.
Yeah.
Hello, friends.
Maria Lisa says hi.
And this is a very nice picture.
Thank you. So like I said, so that up we like whites. I'm gonna go ahead and do kind of a global white increase, and then I will adjust. I'll adjust the sky down because I'm gonna do those separately. Clarity up, I think, is fine. Now again, there's a low clarity version of this that looks really pretty as well. So let's go ahead and Let's do a clarity version. We will at the end of this switch to a low clarity version. Texture. Good texture gonna be done more specifically, and then dehaze. Same sort of deal. Probably gonna do this a little more different, a little separately. You know, quick question. It's something I didn't actually check on this one. Oh, like in black and white. Ooh, I like it. Okay, I might come back and do a black and white version of that. All right, man, hitting a groove here. Now the stream's gonna be 12 hours long. Here we go. All right. So, some color work first. Kind of where my head wants to go. Reds and greens up. I like that. Yellows, not as much. Oranges, yeah, oranges are gonna give us that richness, which just looks awesome. I also bring the yellows down a bit. I don't know if down's the right thing. So maybe just a tiny bit down, leave them alone. Yellows up. Brightness, there we go. Now it's creating something. Greens, no, I kind of want the greens down because I love this pathway kind of cut through the middle here. I'm gonna do some more to highlight that in a minute, but yeah, bringing the greens down around it will give us some contrast, and that's good. Reds down a bit, just because again, I want us to, I want to make this as bright as possible, so darkening everything else as I bring in the colors is great. Blues in the shadows are really nice. I'm going to desaturate the sky a little bit. Let's crank the blues all the way up for now. Aquas, are you with us? Sort of, a little bit. Okay, we're going to turn that up. Let's see, purples. A little bit of purple. Don't want too much of that. I think this photo does fine without it. Magentas, yeah, then we can bring up purples. We're going to leave alone. Cool. Let's come down to luminance. There's nothing else to do here. We can brighten up the blues in the sky. Don't really want to. Leave them alone. Aquas in the sky. I'm going to brighten that up. It gives us a little more of an easy line between the brightness of kind of the horizon in this area into the darkness of the sky, though I am going to desaturate that. Purples sort of serves the same purpose and doesn't do it as well. And then magentas really barely having an effect. But let's turn them down because that'll give us more contrast down here. Awesome. Looks good as a start. All right, let's come and start doing some masking. So step one, sky. Nice and easy. Let's get the sky out of there. Ooh, yeah. Cool. All right, so we're going to desaturate the sky. Step one. A little bit. Don't want this to be about the sky. I said I was going to bring the highlights of the whites down. A little more detail in there, so that's good. A little bit of that. Let's see. Could dehaze it a bit. Could unhaze it a bit. Clarity down. Clarity up. Clarity down. Clarity up. I'm gonna play with clarity in total later. Texture up a little bit. Definitely good. Gives us that nice, highlights some of the detail in there. I love it. How are we doing on noise? Not too bad. Let's go ahead and let's do a little bit of noise reduction. Nothing wrong with that. Let's see. Whites can stay where they are. Shadows. Not really doing anything for me. Push the whole thing toward blue a little bit. Push it a little away. I'm always experimenting. It's part of the fun. Bring this down a little bit more. There we go. Yeah, because I like the blue and I want it. And like there's something cool about having just a really vibrant sky, but it's not this photo. This photo is about this guy. So then we're gonna do a new mask. Select sky again and invert, so we get everything else. And now we can crank the saturation up down here. We're going to have to adjust some of that. We're going to bring the blacks maybe? Nope, that's going to do a whole group adjustment. Alright, let's subtract with a linear gradient. You know what? I'm actually thinking about this differently. Get rid of that. This mask, all I did was crank the saturation. Let's get rid of it. Let's do a new mask, the linear gradient, because I don't want the ground over there. I just want the canyon. So we're gonna do a linear gradient like this. And now I can crank the saturation up without adding too much to the blues that are already hanging out there. Let's come down to the blues. Our color slider for blue. Bring this up a little bit. Don't like that. Let's bring up the sky. Okay. I'll live with it. Okay, back to that mask. Where'd that mask go? Here we go. bring up the shadows a bit. We can bring them down. I don't want to do this. Bring up the contrast. Contrast up a little bit's not bad. I'm gonna bring the shadows up because I want us to be able to see what's going on. So blacks and say where they are. Highlights up. Yeah, highlights up a bit. Really kind of gets us into the cradle down here. I wonder if this photo would be better if I cropped to the edge of the light. If I followed Lion King rules. Texture, yeah, the texture down here is important. I want to crank the texture up. Clarity, I've already kind of done it. I don't really want to add too much more. A little bit more is good. And then dehaze. That's interesting. That's David Fincher. I don't hate it, but it's not. Maybe just a touch. I'm trying to fight myself off doing high contrast color all the time. Let's go with that. Let me try a recrop on this. I'm just curious. If I crop it to here. I can crop this in to there. I can crop this in to there. This down just a touch. Let's go with that pocket. Guide your eye. I don't know. I think I'll leave it better the other way. Yeah, I think I like the scope of it. The scope of it's better. It's more interesting, and this becomes, instead of becoming just kind of what it, the idea is like, oh, that's what the Grand Canyon always looks like. Now it's like, oh, this is a special bright section right in the middle. Almost looks like a smile. I might lean into that. Ooh, that's cool. I might lean into that. I'm gonna lean into that. Let's do it right now. Brush. Let's do some artistic masking. So we're going to actually, you know what? Let's do it this way. Let's start off with. You know what? Let's do forget the brush. Do an object select. I want to see if I can get this little shadow here first. See if I can do that because I want to get. There's a couple of spots I want to get that I can turn into a face. It's kind of a smirk and a half mustache, or half smirk and a mustache. It's got a mustache. It's got a full mustache and just half of a smirk. Let's see if it'll give me that nice dark blue shadow that I can do something with. No, it won't. Okay. But it got me that area, so that's a start. Can I then do intersect with a color range and get that? This masking is about to get really creative, guys. Okay, that is. Alright, this premise works. Okay, turn that off. We're gonna do a bunch of different object selects, and then we're gonna do a color range. So let's get this object. That's the next thing I want. Because if I try to do them individually, the intersections aren't gonna work. I gotta get everything I want and then intersect. So that's what we're gonna do. Getting a good stretch going here. Oh, that's even better. That's looking really good. Okay, cool. So those are our eyes. Let's come down here. These shadows. Add objects. Let's turn this down. These shadows are our lips and stash. Get that. This right to the edge of the cliff. Oh. Let's see if it gives us that. This wouldn't be too hard to do by hand with a brush, but I don't because it involves light. If I can get something really crisp, I want to do that first, and then I'll come in by hand if I need to. I'd rather have a section and then subtract with a brush and kind of carve away than try to draw it freehand with a brush. Okay. Workable, definitely workable. We're gonna add one more object because I really do want this little section here. See if it'll give me that, or at least give me that whole section. So, yeah. Good, okay, so we've got our areas selected. Now we come here, do we do intersect with color, and we select that blue, we see what it does. Okay, not too bad. I'm gonna bring this up. I'm gonna give it some, like, let it sort of overdo. That side looks good. Down here also looks pretty good. Let me do the overlay on black and white. Let me see what I'm seeing. Like, it was a better look. Okay, yeah, that looks pretty good. I can adjust that as I need to. Okay, good. So then we add a subtract brush, and we start cleaning off certain spots here that don't quite give us exactly what we need. So like these edges over here, this stuff in here, let's get rid of all that. Good. I'm gonna keep most of that for now. I'll adjust as I go. What's over here? This one's looking pretty good. This one actually did a really good job, for the most part, of getting what I wanted it to do. That one I'm actually gonna need to see on color though. Let's see. Yeah, that's actually pretty good. There's this spot out here that doesn't need to be here. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. Clean that up. Good. Looking good. Let's get this section out here. Get rid of that. But it's still sort of in the shadow, and that's fine. Let's zoom in to 200% so we can get this little area out of here, which kind of might end up sort of being a pupil in our eye. Let's get rid of this. Yeah. Okay, and then let's come over to this one. 100% should be fine. Nope, take it back. 200% would be better. Let's do that. Let's get 200%. Navigator, thank you. And now we can. This one's a little more obnoxious, so we're going to erase a lot of this. Yeah, that's fine. Really just want this one central section. Multiple clicks are good. Get rid of that. Let's get rid of this. So let's get rid of that. I really did catch all the dark spots because most of my shadows have some blue in them. So we're gonna clean up some of this. Those are the lighter parts. There we go. Kind of our other pupil. Need this whole area because this has got way too much in it. Like I said, I'd rather use a brush to carve down than to freehand draw. Nothing wrong with that. Let's get rid of this. There we go. Good. Here. This part up here where it's kind of touching onto the rock face can go away. There's some in there that shouldn't be there. Alright, let's see how that's looking. That's not looking too bad. Let's zoom in down here, take a look at this. Yeah, I don't think it's touching anything it shouldn't be. Okay, cool. So now, just as an aggressive check, we're going to dehaze. Or not dehaze, we're going to lower the exposure, which gives us, yeah, starts to give us that look. Excellent. Shadows down. Blacks down a bit. There we go, something like that. I look at the photo, my eye is drawn to this sort of face we have in the middle with its goofy little smile, little tiny, I don't know if that's the bridge of its nose or a little mustache. And then our two eyes, especially this one, that's a really good eye. This one's a little more wonky, but I like it. Yeah, well that was fun. Put the shadows up, let's let it be. I want the pitch black, so I want a little bit of blue in there. Okay, cool. That was a fun little detail to work on. I like that. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with this one across the board, really. I did say I was going to get rid of this stuff on the side. I don't mind it as much anymore. It feels like it's it's part of the photo now. It gives it a balance. I guess I could try removing it. Let me see if I try to. This is not gonna look as good as I want it to, but it's gonna be a good test. If I just kind of get this whole thing and tell it to remove that. Let's see what it does. Get that whole thing out of my photo. What are you gonna get me? Okay, you know what? That really doesn't look half bad, apart from this weird sort of glitchy thing over there. But that really doesn't look bad on Earth. That was not supposed to be that good. I tell it to do it with this. Select that again. It's reanalyzing. Didn't change a thing. If I switch it to, oh, it did change. It made it weirder. Don't like that. Switch it to this. Now we're gonna get some very, very bizarre stuff. Let's go to this. It's gonna reanalyze and probably make it worse. Because it's kind of doing copies of copies in a way. It's actually not bad. But if I get rid of it, where are we at it? Do you think we're better without? I think the photo was better off without that. I can come back to the crop. Kind of adjust this a little bit more. Give it a little more of that balance. There we go. Yeah. Okay. That looks cool. That looks very, very cool. Kind of got a face of the mountain in there. All right. I said I was gonna do a black or another version of this. Let me see what black and white was within black and white. That doesn't strike me as much as I want it to. I think there's other ones that we can do a better black and white version of. So we're gonna do that. What about a low clarity version? If I bring the clarity down, that is interesting. I'm actually really happy with that. Let's do another version of this. Let's do something a little bit less blunt, but come on, give me virtual copy. Oh, there we go. We got it. Cool. So now we can. Oop, didn't need the second one, guys. Let's see. Yes, remove the virtual copy. There we go. So now we just have the two. Cool. So now we can put the clarity back as a start. And then we'll go to our masks and we'll do these individually. So we'll get our sky first. Yeah, you can update the sky. That's fine. Totally a fine thing to do. Yep, didn't change a thing. Bring the clarity down, give some nice softness to it, dehaze it a little bit. Maybe just a smidge, just the tiniest bit. Cool. All right, now we go to our mask that covers everything else. Bring the clarity down there. Actually, you know what? In this case, let's just reset that. And in this case, I do want to do a duplicate and invert mask on the sky, because otherwise that's the thing, we didn't really do anything to that strip of land kind of on the other side of the canyon where we get the clouds. Now I do want to do stuff to it, so let's go bring this down. Kind of like that. There we go. Really lean into those colors. Let's come back to here. I've already brought the shadows up. I want to bring the blacks up a little bit now. Yeah, dehaze up a little bit like that. Gives us a really, really nice softness to this that I'm very much enjoying. But texture up is good. This gives us a nice dreamlike quality, which I'm, like I said, very much enjoying its presence. Highlights up a bit. Let's get some brightness in there. That's looking cool. All right, and then I'm gonna do. Let's see, how do I want to do this? I'm just gonna do a new mask. Brush this, or do I want to do it with a radial gradient? I want a brush. Okay, so we're going to do a brush mask here. Bring down, basically, kind of select our face. We kind of get this area up here. Go around the edge of that. Follow the edge here. There we go. Fill in our middle, fill in the gaps in the middle. As a starting point, let's get the edge there. Good. And here I'm going to bring the clarity up a bit. Not too much, just a little bit. So we get the same way I would on a portrait, where if I was gonna, you know, on every portrait I do, I pretty much always kind of take the face and do a little bit of brightening on it to make it pop a little more. Same deal here. We're gonna do that. We're gonna bring the shadows down just a touch to really give it that contrast. We're gonna keep the texture where it is. By bringing up the clarity a little bit, it still draws the eye, and that draws. I'm looking at the little thumbnail up here, and that draws my eye right to the face and right to the smirk. Makes me very happy. I want to go back to this mask real quick. I want to do an add brush. I'm going to come down here. There's this little guy right here I'd like to kind of add. He's got just a little bit of a grin. It's catching my eye, just like that. Oop, that did the wrong thing. Just the one update, thank you. Come on. Yeah. That looks good. Gives it a little bit more of that kind of the other half of the smirk in a way. Kind of leans into the. I don't know if this is just my love of V for Vendetta for that mustache, but yeah, this is. I like that. Let's crank up the feathering. Let's kind of soften these edges just a touch. I have this. Let's bring the density down. Dip a little bit into here. Sort of gilding the lily a little bit, but I like it. There we go. That's fun. Okay. And now, yeah, that one's looking pretty good. Let's see, it's already got 3 stars. Let's come back to here, and let's adjust this one as well. Let's do our usual add brush. Zoom in. Same thing, density all the way up this time. Just nice and gentle, don't overdo. That up, get a little bit of this in here. There we go. A little bit more up in there. A little bit down into this area here. There we go. That looks cool. I like that. Let's also do a real quick here. So was it mask 4? Yeah. So we're gonna synchronize. Check none. Just mask 4. Sync. Just do merge. And that should add to this one. There we go. Should add mask 4, which just brightens that whole area up a little bit. We don't need to do it quite as much on this one. A little bit of brightening. I don't even think we need to bring the clarity on this one. Clarity a little bit up. It's actually good. There we go. Gives our mask a little bit more of a little bit more sparkle. Yeah, that looks really good. I'm really happy with how that looks. All right, cool. Let's do a black and white version of this. stretch is going. Cool. All right, so a black and white version here of this one or of this one that didn't have as much of the sky. This one. This one has some epic scope to it that I like. So virtual copy, black and white. Nice. All right. Let's come down. I think we can do a lot of this just with the color sliders. Bring the blues down to give the sky. I don't know. Do we want to bring them up to kind of keep the sky out of the shot? Yeah, I think we want to bring them up. I think we want to have the sky brighter and just have it, you know, a little tiny bit of a gradient in there, like that. So it's got some, it has some texture, but not a whole lot. Same with the aquas. A little bit of them right there. That's good. Greens. Yeah, greens we're gonna keep kind of low. Oranges or yellows. Start with the yellows, and then the oranges. Oranges can kind of stay more or less where they are. Reds. Reds we're going to bring down because it's going to give us some detail and some texturing. Magentas, same sort of deal, down a little bit, and then our purples down as well. Gives us more detail over there. All right, let's check our masks. I think we have. All right, we've darkened that section. That section can actually. We can brighten that up a bit. Can let it be part of this because it's not. Yeah, it's not overpowering. With this mask here. I like that mask, happy with that one. This one I think is the, yeah, that's our pathway through. We were darkening that. Let's see. Contrast. Maybe not. We'll leave that as is for now. There's one other thing I want to do. That, yep, we darkened that to give it that detail. The last thing I want to do is I want to get our kind of white pathway through here. New mask. If I tell you to do an object select through this, will you be able to get it? Let's find out. If I tell you to do that much, can you get me that line? Let's find out. A little bit of dance, a little bit of waiting. Yeah, okay, cool. That might need a little shaping, but that's pretty good. Let's do it again. Let's come down here. Let's add object. Let's make this smaller even, because I can tell you to really just give me that. Get up here, I want that part of the line as well. And then I want this kind of curling down to there. Nice. If this ends up looking good, I may copy this mask over to the last one so that I can brighten that up in the other photos as well. Beautiful. Look at that. That's phenomenal. Any more of that? That's it. Okay, cool. I need to do a little bit of a subtract mask, or subtract brush up here, because I need to clear out, like get this stuff kind of off there until we really just get that white line. Give it a little bit of the extra, trim the extra fat off there a little bit. We want a very lean line going through our photo. Okay. And now we can bring up the highlights on that. We can, I might bring up the exposure on it. There it is. Really gives me that. Is there anything? It really doesn't do much going through there, and then it reconnects out there, which that might also be worth grabbing. Let's add another object, zoom in, and we're going to, let's see if I can tell it to grab me this for the same reasons. To there. See if I can get that. It's easy when it's high contrast. It's a little more difficult when it's low contrast. This wouldn't be too difficult to hand draw, but what do you got for me? Yeah, anything? Let me see the overlay. You got that little bit. Okay, let's try that again. I'm actually gonna hand draw this. Add brush. I'm gonna zoom into 200% so I can really get into there. And get this all in the screen at once. There we go. Feathering down, a little bit bigger. Here we go. Just doing this bit by bit. Looks a little weird. It's a little bit, yeah, we're gonna come in with a subtract brush and clean that up a lot. Actually, I can just do this. I can just move the subtract brush up over top of it, and then I can work with that. This is why I don't love having to do this by hand. Subtract brush helps me, helps the edges not look quite so rounded off, which is good. Gives me some corners that I can work with. Already starting to look better. Actual cut in there. Let's try this again. Let's get in there. Not too bad. Yeah. Let's see, if I take the density down, yeah, well, I might be able to tweak this a tiny bit. Nope, overdoing it. I'll go with that. Let's leave it as this. Yeah, looks good. Kind of guides your eye through the canyon and out into the bigger section. Cool. Okay, let's do a sync and synchronize that mask. What's the mask on that? That's mask number 4 again. So just mask 4. So check none. Just mask 4. Okay, synchronize. Merge. Now we come over to here. Yeah, mask 4 now. Brightens that whole thing up, nice. In this case, I don't need to have it be exposure. Let's take that just to 1. I can do a little bit with shadows. A little more precise over here, which is good. We can do it with stuff that's not exposure is a very blunt tool. Dehaze is also a very blunt tool. If we do it with whites and shadows and highlights, it's a little more control over it. Versus here, we'll do the same thing. Set it to 1. Shadows, whites. That's a better way to do it. Cool. All right. So that's looking pretty good. I think I want to darken the sky a tiny bit more on the black and white version. Let's come down here. Yeah, we brighten that up a bit. Let's bring that down just a bit. Something like that. That's good. Cool. We had another mask here that we had this one. Bring that down a little bit darker. This guy, actually this one. I want to darken up just a little bit as well. Not enough that we lose detail, but enough that our eyes are drawn there. Texture. Now let's keep the texture where it was. Clarity. Clarity down a bit's a good idea because it lets us. Clarity is going to give us those bright highlights on there, which look pretty cool, but also distract from our river going through. So we're bringing clarity down just a touch on this one. Yeah. We don't have the color to help us. Can even dehaze it a bit. Don't think I need to. Don't want to lose too much. Shadows. Yeah, shadows down just a smidge. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm really happy with that one. Alright, let's come take another quick little revise of this guy. Not right now. Never mind. That one still needs work. Haven't decided what to do with it. Either of these catch my attention. Let's look at the ones the 1 stars we haven't touched yet. There's this one. That's okay. I like the pyramid shapes in here, but it's not really doing much for me. This is another Point Sublime one, which I love, but I love the other one more. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's look at this. We did one similar to this with Mount Hayden. We did with this guy, I think. Yeah, it's a similar concept. Just the thing in the foreground and the color in the background of the sky. I don't know. If I do this and I've already cropped some of this down. Let's bring this down. Something like that. Out of curiosity, what does that do to my? Maybe I have to adjust that again if I want to publish. But let's see. This might not be one that I want to really publish. I like it as is. Bring that in. I don't know. That one's not really speaking to me too much right now. But this one. Nah, same deal. This guy. I like the colors. I like the. Let's do this at 8.5 by 11. But let's switch that. So it's like that. Make this about the cloud and that little carve out. I can live with that. Let's work on this. I haven't masked anything here, have I? No, let's get this guy. It's probably the last one of the day as we've kind of wrap up this Grand Canyon thing. Then I want to talk about that mystery that I solved. Cool. So we got that. I want to add linear gradient. I want to kind of come out to here. Let's come up like that. And let's just add this and let it sort of drift down there. So we get a little bit of that ground as well. Clarity down, texture up because we like texture in the sky. Highlights down a bit. There we go. Whites, now whites can stay where they are. Shadows up a bit. Brightens that up nicely. Okay, cool. Duplicate and invert, so we get the bottom. Here's where we play with texture. Here's where we bring everything up. Don't have much clarity here, actually. I kind of like it without dehazing. I do want to do a little bit of. And then I want to bring the shadows down a bit. Shadows down, blacks. The shadows, I'll just do that with blacks. Blacks down a little bit more. Shadows up a touch. So we keep that. Keep a bit of a balance. Okay, cool. I'm gonna crop this in even more. Yeah, I think I do. Cool. Like that. Let's come down and play with color. Reds, oranges. What are yellows doing? Nah, let's keep the yellows down. Same kind of thing I've been doing. Oranges up, reds up high, yellows down a bit. Greens, yes, greens I want up, and I want to brighten them up. They're pretty cool that way. Blues, not a whole lot of blue to really play with down there. Aquas. My poor favorite son. Purples up a bit, and then magentas, same deal. Let's adjust the brightness of those guys. Bring them down a bit. Purples. That's a bit much. Let's kind of do that. Blues. Yeah, bringing up blues keeps the softness there. Okay, the aquas are up in the sky. We bring the aquas down. That helps. Yellows gives us those highlights. Orange. Orange all the way up. It's a bit glaring, but I don't hate it. Yeah, a little bit of that's actually not bad. Cool. Yeah. Out of curiosity, black and white, because I always want to check. There's something really nice about that. Let's do a black and white version of this. My hand is starting to feel like you've been doing this for 2.5 hours. Let's hand is like, break please, yes. Also get another hour of work after this, so cool. Alright, so let's do black and white. Pretty happy already across the board. Let's come down here to our color sliders. Let me start with that. Blues up a bit. I want contrast, but not too much. Reds down. Yellows up or oranges up? Maybe yellows up. Greens down. It's going to give us the detail in there. Purples we kind of kept as they are. Magentas is what we turned down. We'll turn the magentas down again. Oranges up a bit. Something like that. That's not bad. I want to bring up those shadows down here. Yeah, I don't want that to be as dark in this case. Highlights we can kind of keep as is. I want contrast, but I don't want the darks to be too dark. That's not bad. This is now a picture, and the cool thing about this picture that I'm realizing is what makes me love it is that this shadow here is this cloud. Like this is you can see the cloud and the shadow it's casting on the canyon. That's what I really like about this photo. Just took a second to articulate. Okay, let's do a quick correction there. Nope, that made it so much worse. Go back. Put it back where it was. Leave it alone. Leave well enough alone. Okay, so let's take a quick peek at our before and after. Excellent. Really, really good. I kind of want to bring the saturation down. Let's push the vibrance. Technically, vibrance is a little more of a... Turn the saturation up. I'm fine with that. Technically, saturation is kind of just across the board, turns all the colors up theoretically, and vibrance is supposed to turn up just some of these like specific. It's a little more AI built. It's supposed to turn up just some of the specific colors. What I've discovered for the most part is, in practical terms, that means the vibrance turns up the blue, like turns the blues and the purples up more, and the saturation turns up does kind of turn up everything, but saturation turns up the reds and the oranges more. Depends what you want. Okay, these look good, guys. These look really good. Do I have anything down here that's just 2 stars apart from that one that I still don't know what to do with? Got some 1-star ones that I'm not doing anything with, and I got a bunch of 2 stars, which I got those few 2 stars, and I got the 3 stars. Let's look at the 3 stars. These are the ones we finished. Actually, we can do this if I go to the library. Because now we can see. Cool. All right. So 3-star photos. What am I? Okay, that's a comparison thing. No, I don't want that. I want this. Oh, that's what I'm saying. Okay, let's come back to here. So like this. So it's not comparison. All right. So that's a 3-star photo. I don't think we didn't really do much with this one today. You know what? Let me do this one. I feel like I edited this a long time ago, and I don't love the way it looks right now. These aren't copies; these are different photos. Okay. There's a lot to like here that I just don't think is really there yet. All right. So put this all the way up. Bring bring this down to like that. Yeah, it's looking good. So I gotta block the sun to see what the thumbnail looks like now because the sun's coming in, starting to do its whole setting thing. Let's bring this up a bit and let this be. There we go. Automatically better. Am I masking anything here? I am masking something. What did I mask? I masked that area to bring that up. I like, and then I did that. What's this look like? Added some more texture down there, which is cool. Inverted the sky, and this is the sky. Okay, so step one, this mask here. Pushing toward green, let's push that toward purple a little bit. I like the idea of going toward gold. I really like that, but I also want to get away from the greens. So let's do that. Let's come down here to our color sliders. What do we do with them? Okay, so use some usual stuff. Greens. Let's push our greens. Oh, we pushed yellow all the way to green. That's why that was looking the way it was. Let's leave that as is. Just turn this up. Turn the oranges up. That looks good. Reds. Yeah, saturation on the reds coming up seems like a cool idea. I love this because you do get those. Turn that off. What do I get? Okay, don't love that, but I do want to adjust linear gradient. You see the overlay on this one. Let's push this up a little more. Yeah, because I like having that balance there. I like having the blues, and then as it sort of bleeds deeper, but I want to find the exact right balance. Which means turning it up and pulling it back. Something like that. Just the right amount. Excellent. What's this one doing? Just brightening the bottom, that's fine. And then the brush is clearing off Mount Hayden. That's all good. Cool. All right. What else to be done with this photo? Because as I look at this, I'm really enjoying it. Let's bring up our blues a little bit. Get a little more color hanging out in there. That looks good. Magentas, push them toward red and get kind of a dustier color going. That's pretty cool. Purples, if I push them a little more toward blue, it's sort of robbing them of their identity. Let's turn let's leave it alone. I'm overthinking. Let's see, reds here with brightness. Let's bring that up a good bit. I like that. Blues, leave the blues where they were. They're fine. Okay, maybe a little bit up. Just a little bit, just something like that. Magentas and purples, already up, already looking good. Pretty happy with that. New mask, select object, see if this thing can get me Mount Hayden. It's the one thing I want. One thing this photo needs. That tea is mostly dregs at this point. The last thing I want, then we're going to talk about this, then we're going to talk about mysteries, and then we're going to talk about postcards. All the fun stuff. Yes! Look at that. That is spot on, pretty rock solid. Come to 50%. Yeah, gotta clean up the base again, but other than that, that's great. Okay, how's our... I thought I turned the density down. Let's remove the base here, because I like the base being that color is good, and I don't want to be very obvious if I adjust that too much. This area over there. Everything else looks perfect. Okay, cool. So now we can just, let's see, we can desaturate a bit. Bring up the clarity. Oh, not the clarity, bring up the texture. Texture's all the way up. Texture's not going to do any good. Dehazing a little bit. We'll brighten that. Saturation not all the way down, just a bit. I want it to stand out as brighter without being. Then same deal. Highlights and shadows. Like we said, adjust those. Oh, I leave saturation alone. I think I get not too much alone, but just down a little bit. And then bring the shadows up. Then you get a similar effect. Without having to be super obvious about it. That looks good. That looks like it's part of this. Oh, that's interesting. I push it a little bit toward blue and get sort of that interesting take on it. Okay. Leave the color alone. The color's fine. Whites. Blacks. Blacks up a little bit. Then again, leave it alone, dude. Looks good. Texture. Slight improvement. Let's turn that up. Clarity. Turn the clarity will brighten it up, but will also darken the darks. It's not a bad thing. I'm actually pretty happy with that. Because now we do get... It's a little too bright. Let's turn the shadows back down. Up a bit. There we go. Didn't really need to do much with that. I think I'm gilding the lily here. Like, it's brighter, it's white, it'll draw attention, and then we can still, we can still, look at everything else out there. I think that's fine. Do I even need that? There's just a little bit, I think just a little bit of desaturation, clarity, and I think just a little bit is all I need. I think that does enough. Okay, cool. 3 stars, excellent. So yeah, let's talk through our photos here. Let's kind of click through. So before and after, there we go. Substantial difference. Before and after on this one. Definitely looks good. Definitely brings in those colors more. This one, love this one. Cloud shadow, just magnificent. This one here, black and white. The before is gonna be what it was before we copied it. So that looks awesome and stark. Our face, love it. Same deal here, black and white. Theoretically, that's the low contrast version. We didn't do a black and white version of this. Not that, because I don't think we need one. Here we go. That's another great one. Gives Mount Hayden a really nice highlighting in black and white. Looks like that. It's all right. To me this always looks like a sail. I always see a big sail, kind of like looking down the bow of a ship as it heads off into there. Love this one. Probably still my favorite one. Second favorite behind Point Sublime. The closer version, totally the same thing. Just looks good. The black and white version, also really love that. If I had to pick a favorite black and white one, it's that one. That one is just phenomenal. Point Sublime, before and after, magnificent, absolutely gorgeous. It's got high contrast color while still being soft. It captures the texture of the landscape and the sky and the rainbow. It's everything I want it to be. And then a low contrast kind of cropped in version, or low clarity kind of cropped in version, which gives it a nice softness. I really like it. I actually want to bring the texture down on that one. Yeah, I think let the softness kind of exist for it. If I turn the clarity down even more, really gives it that painterly feel. If I turn the texture down, that's too much, I think. If I turn the clarity down even more, I think improves it. So there we go. Now let's talk about this mystery that I solved. To do that, I'm going to go back to turn the ratings totally off, because I need to talk about the photos we didn't edit. So, one thing we can talk about in terms of, I'm going to go to the library here because I want to be able to see multiple photos at once. So one thing I talk about in terms of when you switch, in terms of cleaning up. Sometimes you guys have seen me clean up little dots on my lens, on my photos before. Let me find a photo where they show up. Come to here. This is the main photo. This might have them. Let's see. A little bit. Okay. There we go. Okay, this is the photo to work on. Okay, this one actually looks pretty cool. It's not specifically a Grand Canyon photo. I mean, it is. It's Point Sublime, but it's not capturing the magic of the Grand Canyon, but it does look cool. Here's a good example. So yeah, I click on this, and there's I was shooting at f/22, so that's for anyone who sees these on their photos and wonders what they are. What they are is, so your camera has a sensor, kind of the thing behind the lens that originally that's where your film strip would be, and it would expose. Your sensor now is digitally catching the light, and these are little spots of dust on your sensor. That's what that is. It's little spots of dust that have gotten on there. A lot of the time you can't see them because you're shooting at a low enough f-stop, so you're a shallow enough depth of field that there's the camera's not picking them up. They are so far out of focus because they're right on the sensor that you can't see them. Imagine it's like a speck of dust on your eye. You can't see it. And weirdly, our eyes have fairly have good depth of field and and a good deep focus, but it's not perfect. Some way you can hold up a finger and focus on this, and the stuff behind you goes out of focus. I guess my camera can probably do it if I do that. Not quite. I think the focus is deep enough, but anyway, so your eyes can do that, and that's shifting your focus, adjusting your depth of field. In this case, when you're shooting at f/22, which is on most cameras, most lenses, kind of one of the is in some cases the highest f-stop you go to, but it's also it's a very deep very deep depth of field. You're catching pretty much everything, and which is great for a photo like this, so I can have the far area of this in focus, and then I can also right here is also in focus. It's that my depth of field is that wide, and that's great. The problem is it also deepens the depth of field enough to catch dots, to catch bits of dust on the sensor, and they show up. Your depth of field, it deepens going out towards your subject, but it also deepens coming back towards your sensor. And if you have a deep enough depth of field or enough dust on your sensor, you deepen that up, it's going to start to show up. If you want to test to see if there is dust on your sensor, the trick to that is turn your f-stop up to more than 11, which Spinal Tap would appreciate. But yeah, turn it up to over 11. If you can go to f/22 and get it up real high and still get still have enough light, do that, and take a picture of a blank sheet of paper. Take a picture of a blank white thing that fills the whole screen. You will see where the dots are, as long as it's a clean sheet of paper. So anyway, that shows up on these on stuff, and that's you don't want that, and you can buy a sensor cleaning kit. They're not that expensive, and they come with a whole bunch of cleaning swabs. You can I have bought one sensor cleaning kit in my life. I haven't used half of it. I clean my sensor once or twice a year, and or if something happens where I start seeing this. But to fix it, you go to your healing brush, you bring this down to about just the size that you need, and then you click, and it will get rid of it. But when you have a bunch of them, that becomes annoying to do. So cleaning, when you start seeing a bunch of these, cleaning your sensor is good. And the other thing is if I turn the clarity down on this photo, actually, no, they're still showing up, but this one has a bunch of them. But if I turn the clarity, if you're not cranking the clarity up or the texture up, you might be able to hide them depending on how you do it. But anyway, these are all over these photos, and I looked at this photo as a potential one to edit today, and I saw these dots, and I'm like, oh man, this is. Because there was a while back before I started, cleaning my sensor regularly, where it's I just, I would get these dots and just keep getting dots until it became too frustrating. And there were times where I was editing photos and cleaning up every single one of these little dots. Every time there's a sky, and there's one there, and there's there's tons of them over here, and then there's some that are much more visible than others, and there's a couple down there. And editing this photo today would have been a nightmare to do that. I'm like, oh man, I wonder how many of these Grand Canyon photos are going to look like this. And then I went back to this photo, which was taken the same day, a little bit earlier, and if I crank up the clarity and the texture here, there's a few dots. There's some right there, and this was shot at f/22 as well. There's a few of them. There's one there, but there's not nearly as many as you see here. And so what I realized was, because this is the result of dust getting in between your, inside your camera, usually when you're switching lenses or when you're storing it. That's another reason. Get a blower to blow all the, blow stuff out when you change lenses, and another reason to make sure you're changing lenses in a as contained an area as possible. But what I realized is that this means, all these dots that were showing up on my sensor here, they didn't accumulate slowly over time. Some of them did, which is normal wear and tear. In this case, something between this photo and this photo, I guess, if I was switching lenses, what was I shooting at here? That's 18 mil. This is also 18 mil. So okay, so so somewhere in there, between adjusting, maybe I probably switch lenses to do some of these sky shots. Somewhere in there, I got a whole bunch of dust on my sensor. And it wasn't. I was convinced it was a slow buildup over time. No, it happened on the same morning. I wonder if the metadata is actually on here and I can see dates. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. So the last one was shot at 9:05 a.m. This one was shot at 8:54. So within 10 minutes, we went from this with a few dots on the sensor to this with tons. So that was a little mystery to solve, and I was worried because I looked at this picture early today as a photo to do on stream, and I was like, oh man, oh god, they're all over the place. And then I was like, oh man, are they going to be all over all of these photos? And I was expecting to be cleaning up dots. We were working on shots like this, and we don't. There are very few here. I haven't, like you watched me edit these start to finish. I didn't have to clean up anything. And this was shot the day before, 2 days before. Yeah. So anyway, that's a mystery that was solved. A mystery that I solved that was kind of cool to be like, oh, I thought this was kind of just me being negligent and letting those dots build up over time. It wasn't. It happened kind of on the day. I might have been experimenting with taking shots with the lens off. That's the thing I tried a couple of times when I was out there. And that might be part of the problem. What does this photo look like? I'm curious. Let's edit this real fast. Just looking at this photo, this angle is interesting to me, and I haven't done anything with it. So let's play real quick. I'm gonna crank up the exposure a little bit. Going to dehaze, get some color in there. Let's crop up. Knowing me, this is probably a test shot that I was just like, yeah, let's take a photo and see what, or was an accident. I occasionally take accidental photos, and occasionally they're good. Texture, whatever. Highlights, up, shadows, that's gonna be a bigger draw. Blacks, there we go. Really brightening this one up. We're adding a bunch of noise, but that's actually kind of okay. In this case, black and white or color. But I don't like the greens. So let's go ahead and do a linear gradient. Let's get this whole area back here. Kind of like that. Let's push it more toward purple, a little more toward blue, less purple, a little blue. There we go. Sort of look like it fits into the same photo. Legs are starting to get mad at me. Crop this up even a little bit more. Don't need nearly as much of those rocks. Oh, I do like that little crevice. I like having that little something there. Cool. I can also crop this in a little more to the side. Pop that up to the top. I kind of like all that. Got some good depth to this one. I just like that about it. Alright, let's come down here to color. Purples, our reds, our magentas. Yeah, magenta's the big color on this one. Blues. Aquas? Nope. Grrr. Anger and fury and wrath. Okay. Yellow's not really playing a role. Orange is going to be a little bit. Let's turn those up. I like that. Brightening up the reds gives us a little bit helps draw our attention to that subject. Brightening the blues as well gives us that nice edge. Happy about that. Purples aren't doing us a whole lot of favors. Let's bring it up a little bit, but not much. Magentas. Yeah, a bit up on the magenta. I can be happy about that. Oranges, a little bit. Your yellows, a little bit. Oranges, stay where you are. Greens, up a bit. Cool. Yeah, one last little photo to edit. Give that 3 stars. I'll render it out and just have it because I like it. Let's crop that down a little more. Cool. I like the angle, I like the way that works. Anyway, what's this one? I remember sitting out here that morning waiting for sunrise. I remember sitting there waiting and constantly watching to see where's the sun coming up, what's it going to do. And this is looking different directions to see what was going to happen. This is all Point Sublime, by the way. This is all that morning. But I want to see what a storm at the Grand Canyon looks like. It looks like that. Where you can look across and see the storm. It's one of the cool things about the Grand Canyon that I haven't really seen much of many other places. This photo is fun. I like this photo a lot. It is, it's not a photo that I usually gets much play. I didn't put any masks on this. This is all global adjustments. Fuck me. Let's see. Let's brighten up this darkness down here. This darkness is way too dark, and I'd like to do something with that. Let's bring this up. Just point out a ton of information. Looks like it's probably going to clip Probably clipping out a bit, but let's see. I don't know. It might be something we can work with. There's something we can work with. Look at that. This photo just got better. This photo just got a lot better. Shit. Okay. Highlights up a little bit. Shadows. Don't want to oversell, but I do like that. Clarity, no. Texture, no. Texture down. T-noise up. Let's clean that up. I just want this, yeah, that ghostly landscape down there. A little bit of dehazing. A little bit more darkness. A little bit of saturation, maybe? I did not see that in this photo. That is awesome. Okay, that's the full photo as taken. That's great. Something else about this guy's doing a weird thing down there that we're going to fix that. Because I'm guessing I turned the oranges up and the yellows all the way down. I think that's what I probably did. Can I have this photo editing back? Thank you. I didn't. What did I do? Reds up is cool. Magenta's up is also cool. Really get the sky in there. I didn't touch the blues. What is going on with this photograph? What on earth does that mean? Greens are non-existent. That's fair. Is it the oranges or the yellows? It's not the oranges. Oranges are fine. Yellows? A little bit. What is going on with that space right there? Why does that look like that? What's the original of this look like? I guess am I clipping out? Is that what it is? No. I'm genuinely curious what is going on with that picture. That little spot right there. I don't have any other masks. That is weird. This is fun. This is doing a little bit of photography detective work to figure out what on earth Eric was doing when he was editing photos years ago. How noisy is that? Substantially. I don't really care because I love the way the sky is playing in that one. What's going on with that? I don't know what it is. Have I adjusted anything else? Adjusted the luminance a bit, but not enough to really make a difference. I guess I shouldn't have. It looks like I darkened that area, but I didn't. Is it the highlight shadows thing? Yeah, the shadows aren't what's affected. It's the whites being down. That's what it is. It's the whites and the shadows being down. Let's leave them up. That's what it was. Went down too far with the highlights. And that's fair. Let's bring this down so it looks like that. Gives that nice streak kind of going through. And now I can come down here if I want to and bring the yellows down a little bit. Give us a little more detail in there without having the same problem. Turn that into a thing. And that is still not clipping. Okay, excellent. One more mask. I know I said I was going to stop, and then I'm not, because this is interesting me, and that is what I care about. Okay, let's bring this down. I really just want that section. It's the brightest part of the photo. We're going to bring that down. Excellent. Now let's see what I can do with it. I can bring the texture down. Dehaze it. Up the clarity, which is not doing me a whole lot of good. Blacks down. Bring the exposure down on it a little bit. That's just going to end up with the same problem. I think that is a little bit overexposed. Motorcycle guy taking off down there. Push the whole thing toward yellow. That is, I think, the way to go. Do it that way. Push a little bit more toward purple, maybe? Yeah, push toward purple. Gets a little more color in there. In a good way. What does mask look like? Alright, let's add the brush. I'm going to zoom in here. 50% will suffice. Feathering up. Density down a bit. And we're going to kind of catch this stuff here. Is that better? The overlay off. Yeah, that's much better. It's catching a lot of good stuff. Let's get this over here. Can we get our horizon? Let's get this stuff over here. There we go. Pull it up, pull it up. Hey, I'm on my third or fourth last photo.
It's like when a director's like, one more time, please.
Oh yeah, no,
I
it's
lied.
yep. No, At least in this case, I'm lying to myself and not lying to anybody else. But then again,
People are watching the stream.
they are watching the. I mean, at least
They're
one
watching,
person's
so
watching. That's that's on them. They can do whatever they want.
Who's watching?
Huh?
Who'd be watching?
I have no idea. The last thing Stephanie said was back when we were discussing Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. So it's entirely possible that conversation just like took all of them out, and I'm talking to ghosts. Or it's possible talking about the movie summoned Pooh and Piglet, and they proceeded to commit a like horrible movie-going experience on them.
We'll bring that energy into the universe.
Huh?
We'll bring that energy into the universe.
I don't know. Honestly, Pooh and Piglet showing up as serial killers, like, I don't know, would be a more interesting kind of chaos than the rest of the world. Stephanie's here.
Hi, Steffi.
Really says hi. Okay, yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this looks. That's a little bit weird, but I like it. It's got some nice ghostly qualities to it. I'm actually really surprised how much I love this photo now. 3 stars. Let's see. This is just like shots of the tent. A couple more shots of the area with the rainbow, so on and so forth. Okay, cool. So back to our 3-star ratings. We can look at the photos. But anyway, yeah. Okay, cool. I think I've finally. I'm gonna stop myself at least. I'm really happy with this. I've finally coming, 2017, so 6 years ago, coming back and turning and making these photos into something great makes me really happy. I'm gonna come back to me just to wrap this up and finish this off. Thank you guys for being part of this. Thank you guys for joining this wonderful stream. I'm really, really happy with how these photos look, and I started this out kind of like, I need to do a stream. I'm kind of low energy, and now I'm super jazzed up about it. So thank you for being part of this 3-hour stream now. This is wonderful. As always, postcards are available both in my Etsy shop and on my website. If you search Twisted in Nature on Instagram, you can find access to, you can find all that. If you go to erichackler.com/photography, you'll find both of those as well. As well as you can buy prints of my photos. You can buy a couple other pieces of merch that I have. Again, this bracelet. But also these postcards, which I'm super, super proud of, and have, they got a vintage style to them. They're all my photos from Glacier Bay or Natural Bridge or Antelope Canyon. And on the back of them, they have a QR code down here, where you can, whoever you send it to can scan it, and they can put in, their little bit of location information, and they'll be added to a map that we can see where all the postcards have gone. So it's a thing I really love. It's a thing that I'm really proud of, and I'm really happy to be able to have those and share them. I do want to reach out and ask, even though I think I know the answer to this, but I want to ask anyway. In the last couple of days, I've had 2 strangers tell me that if I sold these kind of necklaces, they would buy them. So I'm considering making that an additional piece of merch on my site. So if you guys, if anyone's got thoughts on that, if you would like, if you think that'd be a thing that you'd be interested in buying, let me know. Yeah, let me know. I'm trying to. It's one of those decisions where I'm like, I've been on the verge of making it for a while, so I'm thinking like, all right, is this a thing worth doing? So anyway, that's such a question I had. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you for being part of this, for this fun tour through all the different scopes and scales and scapes of the north rim of the Grand Canyon, as well as an in-depth and exciting discussion about the cinematic disaster piece Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. So with that said, thank you. Overall, thank you for letting me create and share my work with you. Thank you for being part of this. Thank you for being just all around awesome people, and I hope that you get to keep making awesome work and keep creating cool stuff and so on and so forth. I'm looking at this photo again, and I think I want to do one more thing with it. So yeah, real quick, we're going back into Lightroom. Apparently I'm refusing to stop. Let's grab a brush. I want to get the again, another thing we talked about with, like, you can see the flat bottom of clouds. This purple section here is the flat underside of these clouds, and that's because they are heavy enough that they are sitting just right on the atmosphere, and you can tell they're heavy enough because one of them is over here. The rain is coming out. They're so saturated, they're not quite heavy enough to sink through and create full fog, but they are heavy enough to sit on top, and I want to brighten that up. I think that is worth brightening and making part of a thing. And making more of a... There we go. Yeah, turns into a brighter little sunset. Yeah, clarity can say where it is. Texture can come up a little bit. Can it? No, texture kind of already all the way up. Dehaze? No, it's the opposite of what I want to do. A little bit of dehaze, actually, something like that. Okay, cool. All right, I'm serious. I'm done. I'm done. Thank you all. Be safe, be well, make art, and yeah, we'll have some more exciting journeys next time. See you later.